So let me start with the first question. What happened? In March 2013, our normal testing regime in our plant at Darnham in Australia identified that we had high Clostridium levels in product that we had made for one of our customers. We talked with our customer, we downgraded the product that was affected, and we immediately began 2 parallel checks, one in our manufacturing plants and one to determine the microbiology. As we looked at our manufacturing, we identified that our plant at Hautapu in New Zealand, the manufacturing process we had used to produce one of the ingredients, the WPC80, was a cause for concern. The original WPC80 that we had produced had been suspected to contain a small piece of plastic. That meant that reprocessing was required, and in order to ensure that the product was appropriately filtered, we needed to use a process which wasn't standard for that site. It was during this reprocessing that the suspected contamination occurred. The Hautapu whey plant reprocesses very little product. That's why, in order to complete the procedure, some non-standard equipment was used. A significant number of checks were put in place to ensure that quality standards were met. All the equipment was cleaned, both before and during the reprocessing runs. However, our detailed analysis since the event shows that the original source is likely to have been a transfer pipe that has since been decommissioned. To determine the microbiology, we conducted all the tests we could at our research centre in Palmerston North. These tests determined that the strain was most likely Clostridium sporogenes, which is harmless. And although highly unlikely, our tests were unable to rule out the presence of Clostridium botulinum. We commissioned Ag Research to perform the definitive tests, and when they advised us that these tests showed the likely presence of Clostridium botulinum, we advised the Ministry of Primary Industries, went public and initiated our precautionary recall with our customers. The Ministry of Primary Industries subsequently last week commissioned further testing, and they advised us last week that tests had confirmed definitively that our whey protein concentrate is free of Clostridium botulinum. So that's a summary of what happened, but the important question is, why did it happen? Each year in New Zealand, we produce more than 2 million tonnes of high-quality dairy products from about 17 billion litres of milk. In order to achieve this, we have extremely tight quality control processes and systems, and we have very little deviation from our very high standards. This event occurred when a number of separate and unrelated incidents lined up in a sequence that we hadn't foreseen. The first decision was to reprocess the original WPC80 and to not downgrade the product. In combination with this, the use of an item of non-standard equipment caused the contamination. Secondly, we had a one-off lapse in information sharing across 2 parts of our organisation, and this led to delays in our testing. Third, the issues surrounding the event should have been escalated to CEO level earlier. And fourth, during the time of manufacture in Australia, we had a major upgrade of one of our computer systems at some of the sites that were affected. This was prior to the recall and had an impact on our product tracing and resulted in some parts of the tracing taking longer than it should have. And lastly, although we have very clearly established domestic and international product recall systems, the size and complexity of the WPC80 precautionary recall was a factor, particularly given that some time had passed since the product was originally manufactured and the product had had time to move into our customers' supply chains and out of our control.